Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and today's video is going to be a fun one. In today's video, I'm taking Mega Lucario to the Mega Master League to try and hunt down the ever-powerful ZACIAN plus Mega Gyarados score. Now, is Mega Lucario one of the better Megas? Absolutely not. It only gets to about 4,300 combat power, so it's very underpowered compared to just about every other Mega Pokemon. But what made me want to use it, other than the fact that it's a Mega Lucario, is the fact that it does very well into that duo. This is definitely not a team for climbing by any means, but it ended up working a lot better than I ever expected. So without further ado, let's hop on the matches. And in Game 1, our target has been acquired, Mega Lucario into Mega Gyarados. The Gyarados is staying in this matchup. They are getting torn to shreds by Force Palms, and they save switch into ZACIAN. Unfortunately, it's not getting any better for my opponent, as ZACIAN also does not like this matchup. Aura Sphere connects, devastating damage onto the ZACIAN, and I'm already at Aura Sphere number 2. ZACIAN will put up the shield. ZACIAN can inflict devastating damage with close combat, and they're barely able to hang on 1 HP to do so. So I will shield up the close combat, get the full farm down, and exit with a ton of loaded energy. My opponent sends in Xerneas. I go for the Meteor Mash, and what a play! They catch the Meteor Mash back onto the Gyarados. But the unfortunate thing for them is that Meteor Mash is still a very efficient attack, so even though it's resisted, it did do quite a bit of damage. Now I can send Xerneas into the Gyarados. Gyarados is a very terrifying Pokemon, but it's lost almost its entire health bar, so this is a very safe farm down for the Xerneas. My opponent brings back in their Xerneas, but the damage is already done. I'm up energy, I'm up on HP, and I have an entire full health Lugia lurking in the back. I am at a range where I believe I could get knocked out by the Moonblast, so to guarantee the win, I'm going to be shielding and then firing off a Moonblast of my own. This should set it up to where my Lugia is just simply unbeatable, because Lugia does survive 2 Moonblasts. So I'm able to get them low. I'm going to bank the close combat and send in the Lugia. They can fire off the Moonblast, or even if they're running Thunder, either way, it's just not going to matter. It looks like they are not running Thunder. They go for the Moonblast. Lugia Dragon Tails down a Fairy type to get the Game 1 win. We see the worst case scenario in the next match, leading Lucario into Primal Groudon. Now, Primal Groudon absolutely destroys Lucario, and it absolutely destroys Xerneas. So this is a pretty big core breaker. My only play here is just to stay in with Lucario and double shield. The good news is my Force Palms have done a ton of damage. The Groudon's already lost about half its health bar, but the bad news is I'm down 2 shields to 0 already. Aura Sphere is going to land, Groudon stays in and concedes a full farm down, so I'm down 2 shields, but I have energy for days. In comes Palkia, I bank energy, save switch into Lugia, and my opponent reveals their final Pokemon as Yveltal. Even though I'm not able to make an Aeroblast before they get the Oblivion Wing, even a Fly will do a sizable amount of damage. And Yveltal knows it. They put up the shield, they're going to buff themselves up with the Oblivion Wing, but I'm pretty close to an Aeroblast. And my switch timer should be up very soon. Ideally, I would love to land the Aeroblast and then combo play them with the back-to-back Aura Spheres. Aeroblast is going to land, switch timer just comes up, and I'm able to save Lugia and snipe with the back-to-back Aura Spheres. Yveltal does lose this charge attack priority tie. They play to it, and they do not win, and that's going to be good by Yveltal. Yveltal loses the Oblivion Wing. Back in comes the Palkia. Palkia will be able to KO Lucario with the Aqua Tail, but the damage is done. I had to go down 2 shields on the lead to get rid of Groudon, but Palkia just hits 2 brick walls in the back, and they will resign the match. We move to the next game, and unfortunately, it's bad news awaiting Lucario as I lead into Florges. If I was running Bullet Punch, then I would have an amazing matchup here, but unfortunately, Bullet Punch is not going to do me a lot of favors when I'm trying to farm down a Mega Gyarados. To add insult to injury, I end up shielding a Chilling Water bait, and this bad situation is only getting worse. My opponent gets the shield call right on the Meteor Mash. I'm going to farm up 2, wait a turn, and go for the catch and sneak onto Xerneas. Normally, Xerneas is not considered a very safe swap, but against a Florges lead, I would argue that it is. Because a Florges lead can't really have a ZACIAN Crown form in the back, because then they're ABA weak to Primal Kyogre or Mega Metagross. My opponent sends in a regular Metagross. I was expecting the Mega, but this means their Mega is still lurking in the back. Meteor Mash will take the KO, and I see a plan. I'm going to go for a 1 shield farm down with Lucario. This will leave Lucario with the energy needed to completely overwhelm the Florges, and hopefully get good damage onto whatever they have at the back. They send in Florges, pivoting out, saving the Metagross, but unfortunately for them, I'm already at the back-to-back Meteor Mashes. Meteor Mash lands, that's the end of Florges, and I still have quite a lot of HP remaining on this Lucario. My opponent reveals their final Pokemon is Mega Gyarados, so they're very weak to Lucario, but I'm going to get outpaced here. I'm going to farm up 2 Force Palms, wait the turn, and get the catch onto the Lugia. This is very important. My opponent, if they're able to land 2 crunches, I would be in quite a bit of trouble, but by catching the Aqua Tail, suddenly I'm still outside of a range where a crunch will KO. I am rapidly approaching the Aeroblast. They can connect with the crunch, but Lugia is very bulky. Lugia hangs on, I fire off the Aeroblast, and Aeroblast is now going to land on its intended target. Aeroblast rocks the Mega Gyarados. There's the pivot into the Metagross, but Metagross gets outpaced. Lugia makes the fly. This will secure the knockout, and then I can switch back into Mega Lucario, snipe them down with the Force Palm, and somehow escape with the win. Let's move to the next game, picking up a pretty nice lead, Mega Lucario into ZACIAN. As long as Lucario has 2 shields to hide behind, ZACIAN can't ever really damage it. The Force Palms are shredding through the ZACIAN's health bar, and ZACIAN has to debuff itself if it wants to threaten a KO. They fire off the close combat, I return fire with the Aura Sphere just for them to make a nice catch and sneak onto the Palkia. The sneak is a little bit unfortunate, because I can only do 2 Force Palms and switch into Lugia, instead of 3 if there wasn't a sneak. If I do 3, with their 1 Dragon Breath head start, they could have fired off an Aqua Tail and pressured a shield away from the Lucario. But now I can use Lugia for what it's best at, and that is as a damage sponge. Absorbing Spatial Rend like it's nothing, opponent makes an Aqua Tail, and that's still going to be very okay. Back in comes the ZACIAN, and I'm not baiting, I'm going for broke. I'm full send the Aeroblast. Aeroblast lands through 2 shields, and in the back, their Mega is revealed, and it's Mega Latios. Mega Latios, I'm going to get a shield or some pretty nice chip here. The fly is no shielded. They're predicting ZACIAN in the back, and they would need to have the 2 shields. But unfortunately for them, it is Xerneas. And Xerneas, it just has really nice fast move pressure into all the dragons. I shield up the Luster Purge. I've seen a lot of different Latios movesets. I've seen some on Dragon Claw. This one is on the OG Luster Purge. Unfortunately for my opponent, there's just no way forward there, and they will concede the match. We get the same leads again in the next match, Lucario into ZACIAN. My opponent safe switches into Lugia, and I've seen team comps like this before. Usually it's going to have Mega Gyarados in the back, and if that's the case, then I don't really need switch advantage. So I end up sending in Xerneas late into the Lugia because all I want is energy on the Lucario. Energy on the Lucario should put me in a really good spot to close out this game. I land the Moonblast. I'm definitely getting knocked out here by the fly, but now I can go for big farm on the Lugia. My one worry would be my opponent potentially saving energy on the Lugia and pivoting back into the ZACIAN to bait back out the Lucario. They're not in a range where Fly will knock out just yet, and they do actually go for that play that I was worried about. ZACIAN will go for the close combat. I'm going to look to farm up as much energy as I can with Lucario because I need to ensure that I have a Meteor Mash loaded to go for the CMP tie when my opponent sends back in the Lugia. So I farm up a ton of energy. Aura Sphere is going to be taking the knockout onto ZACIAN, and I have the Meteor Mash ready for the Lugia. My opponent waits down the timer, but that's not a Lugia, that's a Mega Salamence. Mega Salamance's going to be hit with the Meteor Mash. No, they put up the shield. I go for the snipe with the Lugia, but my opponent catches onto their own Lugia. This is a problem because they're not in fly range. Now I have to decide what will do more, a Mega Salamence Outrage or an Aeroblast. I say that Aeroblast is going to do less, so I no-shield the Aeroblast, but I take a lot of damage along the way. Back in comes the Salamence, and I'm going for broke. I'm full sending the Aeroblast here, going for the home run, but the Aeroblast gets shielded, and suddenly I'm in trouble. They're farming up a ton of energy, but a potential win con has appeared. I'm able to get a catch onto the Mega Lucario. Mega Lucario absorbs that brutal swing. Lucario farming up, trying to get to the Meteor Mash, but my opponent is not going to let me get there. I'm now guaranteed to make the Aeroblast, and I need this Aeroblast plus the Dragon Tail to secure the KO. This is going to be a very close game, down to the wire. Aeroblast lands, Mega Salamence survives, and I think they're at the back-to-back, and the Dragon Tail will barely miss the knockout. Mega Salamence is able to survive, and unfortunately that game will end in defeat. I think that's the only Mega Salamence that I've seen this week in the Mega Master League, so massive props to my opponent there for their creative choice of Mega. We get a great lead in the next match, leading Lucario into Zamazenta. My opponent safe switches into Palkia, and I have a very good response available in Lugia. I even bank 3 Force Palms of energy on the Lucario, and Lugia is more than happy to eat a Spatial Rend. If my opponent shields an Aeroblast, then they will be able to flip switch advantage, and I do not want to let that happen. So I'm going to go for the fly bait, but my opponent ends up no shielding, and they're able to make a last second Spatial Rend. I do not think that I survived this, so I'm forced to put up the shield and go down the shield as I expected my opponent to fight for swap, but they made an amazing bait call, and now I'm on the back foot. Because even though my flying moves will hit for neutral into the Zamazenta, Zamazenta is bulky enough that it will be able to survive a fly into an Aeroblast. This means they're going to exit with a close combat loaded and be able to force a final shield away from Lucario. That is a pretty big problem. Lucario's Force Palm will not take the knockout. Zamazenta is too healthy. They go for the close combat, and it's a simultaneous switch. Mega Latios into Xerneas. At this point, unfortunately, this game is over. I'm about to get absolutely destroyed by a Luster Purge. But then my opponent Aura Spheres, and I realize that I have kind of just been bailed out. I did not think I played this game very well whatsoever, but it turns out this Mega Latios is on Dragon Claw and Aura Sphere, and that means, unfortunately, they are completely walled here. They're forced to fire off Aura Sphere after Aura Sphere. I'm just going to go for the close combat, because even a close combat would do quite a lot of damage, because these Geomancies are absolutely chunking. I'm going to pivot into Lucario and snipe with my Aura Sphere. Aura Sphere is going to be resisted. It's not going to take the knockout, but it will get them very low. My opponent, it looks like I KO them there, but they actually pivoted out to take the Force Palm onto their 1 HP Zamazenta. They're hoping that this will put them in range of making a second Aura Sphere, but unfortunately, it's not to be. They made that game so close despite being completely walled in the end game. Very well played to my opponent. We see a tough lead in the next match, and this is our second time seeing Florges. As with before, I'm going to bank energy and try and go for a catch onto the Xerneas. This time we end up catching a Chilling Water, and my opponent sends out Dialga. Dialga is not a Pokemon that I was really expecting to see, but it is a Pokemon that Xerneas can do pretty well against. Even though I have the back-to-back close combats, I know that I lose charge attack priority there, so I'm just going to fire off the Moonblast and hope, against hope, that I can survive the Iron Head. Iron Head lands, and Xerneas with the 1 HP survive. I think I even had a couple more HP than 1 there, but my health bar is very, very low, and I'm able to win Switch Advantage. Now, Switch Advantage, I'm still pretty weak to the Florges, so it's not going to do a ton for me, but I have energy on the Lucario, so I bring back in the Lucario. I'm anticipating a shield, so I'm able to get a pretty safe Aura Sphere bait. I believe my opponent is 1 short of the Moonblast, so I'm going to no shield, and it is just going to be the Chilling Water. Because being debuffed is still pretty okay, because Meteor Mash is an absurdly efficient charge attack and should still knock out Florges. They put me on -2, they pivot into Mega Latios, and I'm able to send in Lugia and actually end up getting a catch of the Aura Sphere. Oh no! Now we get to see Luster Purge or Dragon Claw. If they have Dragon Claw, then they're going to be able to hit for some very sizable damage into the Lugia. Mega Latios goes for a Psychic! You probably could have given me 10 guesses and I would not have guessed there was a Psychic Mega Latios at the 3100s. My guess is my opponent just may be out of charge TMs, which is a very relatable spot to be in, as I frequently have almost no charge TMs. They make a very nice catch of the fly onto Florges. Florges, with Chilling Water, just can't do a lot of damage to Lugia. Lugia is able to hang on, and I see the Wincon. The Wincon is going for a very precise undercharge. This, with the debuff, should leave them in perfect farm down range to set me up with the back-to-back Meteor Mashes. I don't know if Meteor Mash will one-shot here, so I may as well have 2 of them. But it turns out Meteor Mash just one-shots from that health range, so we didn't even need the second one. We get a great lead in the next match, Lucario into Mega Gyarados. My opponent safe switches into Palkia. I get to respond with Xerneas, and so far, we just have the perfect alignment in this game. Palkia is up a decent amount of energy, but Xerneas' ability to tank 2 Aqua Tails very comfortably will put me in a very nice spot. My opponent actually went for the CMP tie there, which was a bit of a surprise, because in doing so, I could have gotten a full sneak if I ended up over farming, but unfortunately, I did not. They go for the Aqua Tail. That's going to be getting me very low, and that will ensure that as they try and CMP tie me again, I'm going to have to put up a shield. I'm pretty sure they are very close to another Aqua Tail, so I'm just going to undertap the close combat to ensure that I get the final shield or the knockout. Down goes Palkia, in comes ZACIAN, and I get sniped down. That's a huge error from me. The moment I saw ZACIAN's typing, I should have immediately pivoted back into the Lucario, because Lucario had an energy advantage, and I probably could have swept. But now it's ZACIAN that has the energy advantage. I'm forced to bring in Lugia just because Lugia can take a hit, but I do get the Aeroblast boost, so a bit of good luck does go my way. They fire off the Behemoth Blade, that's big damage. In comes Mega Gyarados, and I respond with the punish. That is Mega Lucario. Mega Lucario will take massive damage from Aqua Tail. This is the stat product difference right here, as Lucario is getting absolutely torn to smithereens by that Aqua Tail. Aura Sphere will be shielded. My opponent will be able to outpace here, as I can't quite make it to the Aura Sphere. These Dragon Breaths are not doing a lot, but I'm very worried that if ZACIAN manages their energy perfectly, they will be able to win this game. Aura Sphere will be securing the knockout on a Gyarados, but unfortunately, I think ZACIAN is going to be able to take it. ZACIAN overfarms perfectly, firing off energy. They go for the Behemoth Blade to ensure that they will not be debuffed and put into fly range, and at this point I realize that it's going to be a CMP tie Aeroblast to the Blade. I'm forced to fire off the Fly. Fly gets them low, but not low enough. and unfortunately, letting that ZACIAN get the energy head start comes back to bite me as my opponent pulls off an impossible win. Man, that was a very well played game by my opponent. Hopping into the final match, and we pick up a negative lead Mega Lucario into Zekrom. Even though Mega Lucario resists Dragon Breath, Lucario just does not take Fusion Bolt well at all. Add to that the fact that you can never farm down in the 2s, and that Zekrom has an incremental pacing advantage. Zekrom is unfortunately a Pokemon that beats Lucario in all even shielding scenarios. I'm just going to look to farm up. My opponent actually makes a misplay there. They throw an alignment and give me an entire free Force Palm. Now this could potentially change the game. I try for the farm down. I don't get it, so I pivot out into Xerneas, hoping for a catch, but instead I end up sniping them down. My opponent sends in Mega Tyranitar. I'm going to fire off the Moonblast because I do not want to debuff myself, but I know that Moonblast, if they no-shield it, which they do, will not be enough to KO. That is a super effective Moonblast, which is an amazing move from a Xerneas, and Tyranitar is such a beast that it just survives. My opponent sends in a Veltal. A Veltal is going to look for a full farm down. Unfortunately, after I close combat, debuff myself, I'm not getting to another move, so I'm going to look to pivot and send back in Mega Lucario. As Mega Lucario does have back-to-back Aura Spheres loaded, Aura Sphere is going to connect, and we win the charge stack priority tie over a Veltal, and that is going to seal it. Mega Lucario taking the knockout onto a Veltal, farming down the Tyranitar, and securing the win. All in all, I did end up having some very fun sets with Mega Lucario. I went 3-2 in my first set, and then my second set actually went very poorly. It took me until Battle 3, at the end of Battle 3, to realize that at the end of Set 1, I had got a Pineco from GBL encounters, and I need Pineco XLs because I'm trying to build an Ultra Fortress. So I Mega'd a Scizor, got 2 Pineco XLs from catching it, and then went back to battling. At the first 3 battles, Lucario just suddenly was not working nearly as well. It took me till the end of Battle 3 to realize that I never re-Mega'd the Lucario. So this team with a Mega Lucario went 3-2, 1-1, and 3-0. A 7-3 record with a pretty low tier Mega and with no ZACIAN or Palkia on the team is something that I am very proud of. However, the record with a non-Mega Lucario, just a regular Lucario, the team did end up going 0-3. So 7-6 overall, but 7-3 with an actually Mega Lucario. It's very important to double check before you hop into battle in the Mega Master League that your Mega is actually Mega'd, because Lucario does have visual differences, but I guess I just wasn't paying as well of attention as I should have, because it took me 3 full battles of Lucario just getting destroyed to say, wait a minute, I Mega Evolved a Scizor, and then had to go check and realize that I never re-Mega'd it. While this is definitely not a team for climbing in my eyes, just because it uses a lot of anti-meta picks as far as the Mega Master League goes, no Palkia, no ZACIAN, and a pretty low tier Mega overall, it was a very fun team. I'm just looking to have fun in these final few days of the season before we have that big March update. And I feel like this team definitely fit that bill. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed watching today's video, please do leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel if you have not. And I do want to give an extra special thank you to the channel members that we have here on YouTube. Your guys' support means the absolute world to me, so thank you oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.